Hello and welcome to Kevin Teaches Music. In today's episode, we are going to delve into some tune playing, that is Irish tune playing. And the tune in question for today is a wonderful reel in D major. It's called The Earl's Chair. It's a great tune that you'll hear very often at sessions. It's a really rousing tune with lots of energy and some nice chord changes and sort of it has a nice back and forth kind of feel to it. And speaking of that back and forth, you'll actually hear some folks saying that the tune's in B minor, which is very legitimate. It very much centers around both of those tonalities, D major and B minor. So, without further ado, let's get into the Earl's Chair. So our mission for today's lesson is just to go through the tune phrase by phrase. We're going to try to learn a little bit of it by ear, and then we will put it into the notes, put it on the instrument, whatever instrument it is you're playing. And then at the end, we'll review the whole tune, and if we have time, we might talk about a variation or two that you can throw into this tune. So, without further ado, the very first phrase is going to start like so. Da, dee, da, 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 dee, da, 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 dee, da. Now, hopefully you can tell that that first note, da, dee, da, 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 dee, da, da, dee, da, is one step above the note that you hear in that third beat. So da 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 da. And that's a melodic structure that I want you to keep in your head as we go through this A section. So, if you listen to that third tone over the chord that I'm strumming a D chord. And if you sing that note, hopefully if you've watched some of my videos, you have an idea of what tone of that chord the note is. And if you don't, da, 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 da. Try singing a scale until you find yourself coming to what feels like a home note. So, for example, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You'll find that you were on the fifth of that chord. And if that is tricky for you, I have numerous other videos on that topic. But for now, I want you to be able to hear that fifth in the third beat. Now, if that third beat features the fifth, what do you think was in the first and second beats? Da dee dee da do da da dee dee da do dee da. Da dee da do da da dee da do dee da. That's right, it's the sixth of the scale. So in solfege, we're working with la da da la da 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 sol. And that's kind of the basic melodic figure of this A section, and that's what creates the nice back and forth feel that I was talking about, is this balance between the two laws, and then there's really two beats of the sol, the third and fourth beats of the phrase. So now let's get into the nitty gritty. So da dee da da do da dee. Now this little cluster da dee da da do da da is part of what we call a pentatonic scale. And if you've played a lot of Irish tunes, that sound should be very familiar to you. So we're looking at do, re, mi, sol, la, do, la, sol, mi, re, do. If you're not already familiar with singing that, that would be a good thing to practice. It's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and you can take it. You can duplicate that bottom do on the top again. So Do, re, mi, sol, la, do, la, sol, mi, re, do. So a lot of Irish melodies are going to just play around in that note collection. So same thing happens here. So our entire A section is going to use the notes from the D major pentatonic scale. So let's start to talk about what the actual note names are. Our tonic is D. That's the Do. Re is going to be E. F sharp is Mi. And then we have our Sol, which is A. We don't really need the G. We don't really need the fourth of the scale. Not for this part of the tune. We're sticking only to the pentatonic. So Do, Re, Mi, Sol. We have La is a B. And then we have our Do is a D. And then we're going to go up two more notes. Re and Mi. So we're going to have Do, Re, Mi, Sol, La, Do, Re, Mi. Okay, so it might be nice to just practice singing that. Do, Re, Mi, Sol, La, Do, Re, Mi. Okay. And so now, using those notes as our palette or template, let's see if we can piece together these phrases. So we start on B. So that's going to be B, B, D, B, A, F sharp, A. So we're just going up and down in this little pentatonic collection. And then at the end of that second beat, you want to play a B as your final note because we're going to the downbeat of the next the note on the next downbeat is going to be an A. So you have B, 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 D, B, A, F, A, B, 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 A, D, B, A, F, B, A. Does that make sense? So, here, listen to it again and then play along. So that takes us to, let's see, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. That takes us through the first two measures. If we're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And we landed on the third measure. All right, so play that with me. Ready, go. The one thing about that phrase that might trip you up is that you have to get the B note at the end of the second measure to prep for the downbeat being an A. Right there to lead into the A. Now let's tackle measures 3 and 4. So we've just landed on the downbeat of measure 3. That's an A. Take a listen to the way it sounds. I'll do it again. So it's returning back to that la. So you can hear that's where it's going to cycle around again. The phrase will begin again. And you can also hear it has these classic little riffs or figures that you hear in a lot of tunes. And what that is, da da dum. You're looking at sol, mi, and do. You're looking at the fifth, the third, and the root of the D major chord. So that's just basically a little rhythmic motif on the chord tones. And that is basically all you need to know for that section. It's really just playing around on the D major. A, F sharp, D, F sharp, A, D, B, A. And there's a quick passing B in there just to make the rhythm sound right. So that's A, F sharp, D, F sharp, A, F, D, B, A, D, F, A. And by the way, when I'm going more quickly, I'm not going to say F sharp, I'm just going to say F, but it is in fact F sharp throughout the whole piece. So again, that third and fourth measure is A, F sharp, D, F sharp, A, F, D, B, A, D, F, A. That last bit might trip you up. It's a little twisty, a little turny. Again, with all these phrases, just make sure you can sing them first. That's probably the most important tip. I'm a firm believer that if you really have a melody in your head, and if you spend enough time with your instrument getting comfortable with it, the melodies will come out and you will be able to find them. It's all about making sure that you have those melodies in your head and that your fingers are comfortable on your instrument. So, that's sol, mi, do, la, sol, do, mi, sol. Sing that with me. So the syllables are sol, mi, do, la, sol, do, mi, sol. Ready, go. Sol, mi, do, la, sol, do, mi, sol. Now we'll play it on our instruments. So grab your instrument and let's try that. It starts on A. So we're going to go A, F sharp, D, B, A, low D, F sharp, A. This is the fourth measure we're working on. So 1, 2, ready, go. Bum, bum, ba, 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 bum, bum, ba. And that would take us back to the beginning of the phrase again. So measures 5 through 8 are going to be, measure 5 is going to be like measure 1, measure 6 will be like measure 2. If my calculations are correct, I believe 7 and 8 are going to be different. Let's see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you noticed 7 and 8 had a different melody than 3 and 4 did, and that is an incredibly common structure to have phrase A, phrase B, and then phrase A, phrase C, or B prime, if you will, a different answer. So it's kind of like, I always think of it as being a question and answer format. Mom, can we go to the park? Maybe tomorrow. Mom, can we go to the park? Okay, fine. Something like that, where you ask the same question twice and you get 2 different answers. So, Mom, can we go to the park? Maybe tomorrow. Mom, can we go to the park? Okay. And that gives the tune its symmetry, but it also creates enough variation that you're not just hearing literally the same 2 measures over and over again without any change. So that creates a nice sense of creating an expectation, fulfilling it, and then creating it, and then maybe denying it. So kind of a back and forth, almost an ebb and flow or a breathing. And that's why I said at the beginning of this video that this tune has a really nice back and forth kind of flow to it. I just feel like it keeps cresting a wave and then diving back down and then cresting a wave. It's beautiful. So anyway, we need to tackle measures 7 and 8. 5 and 6 are going to be the same as 1 and 2. So measure 7 is going to be start on an A. So that's going to be A, F sharp, A, B, D, E, F sharp, D. So that's going up into the higher octave. It's pretty simple in terms of the way it moves. If you're thinking about the pentatonic scale, it's all going to be stepwise. Yes, it's technically a skip there, but if we're ignoring the G as being not part of our collection, then it is moving to the nearest available tone, from A to F sharp. So that's A, F, A, B, D, E, F, D. Sometimes I get a bit tongue-tied when I'm trying to say these note names. So play that with me. 1, 2, ready, go. A, F, A, B, D, E, F, D. A little faster. ready, go. Now let's add, there's a tiny little snippet in measure 8, and that will take us to the end of the A section, which is very exciting. So measure 8 is very simple. It's just one of the simplest melodies you'll hear. Re, do, re, mi, do. It's so simple I almost messed it up. Re, do, re, mi, do. That's E, D, E, F sharp, D. So measures 7 and 8 together is da, do, da, di, da, da, di, da, do, 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 di, da. Let's sing that without our instruments. Da, that's your starting note. Or up here, whichever octave you prefer. Ready, go. Ya, do, da, di, da, da, di, do, da, do, do, ding, dom. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So it lands on beat 3. Now back to the instruments. One, same thing. 1, 2, ready, go. Ya, do, da, do, da, da, di, da, di, do, do, di, do. Now, let's see if we can play measures 5, 6, 7, and 8 together. So 5 and 6 will have the same melody as 1 and 2. So reviewing that, that was B, 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 lots of B, and then we land on the A. But if we're doing 7 and 8, we're going to go bum, 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 bum. So the important thing to remember about 7 and 8 is that they ascend a little more quickly, whereas their counterparts 3 and 4 stayed low, relatively speaking. So listen to the difference. 1, 2, here's 3, and 4. Now 5, 6, 7, and 8 ascend. So let's put all those together, because I think that the phrase only really makes sense when you have all 8 measures. Otherwise, it just, when you try to practice them in small bits, it can be very disjunct and sort of difficult on the ear. So, da, listen once and then play with me. So, da, da, di, da, 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 di, da, di, di, da, di, da, 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 da. Now try playing along with me. I'll do it nice and slow, and if you don't get all the notes, that's totally fine. You can always pause, rewind, rewatch the video, watch it as many times as you want. So we start on a B. 1, 2, ready, go. B, 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 D, B, A, F. B, 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 D, B, A, F. B, A, F, 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 D, F, 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 A, F, D, B, A. Measure 5. Measure 6. Now we're going up. Let's repeat. Sol, mi, mi, do, mi, 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 sol. Going up. Kind of muffed one of the notes there, but hopefully you got the idea. So, again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Make sure you can sing this melody and you really have it in your head. Don't obsess too much about, oh, I need to play it on my instrument right away. Just enjoy the melody. Just sort of live in it. Kind of let it bounce around in your head, inhabit your brain space for a few days, and play it on your instrument. But if you let it really sink into your brain, that's going to be the best way towards getting it solid. So that's the A section. Again, you can rewind and practice those sections again if you need to. Let's cover the B section. The B section is really exciting, and it's kind of different than most tunes of this style in the sense that it starts on the second degree of the scale, which is kind of neat. Typically, you would have something starting on the 1, 3, or 5. But, of course, our A section started on the 6th of the scale, so this tune has already shown itself to be kind of unique. So the second degree of the scale is E, and we're going to start on the high E. So we have guess that would be, if we're looking at the B section, we'll call that measures 1 and 2. So our basic melody is re, do, sol. So E, D, and A. Sing those note names with me. So E, D, A. Ready, go. E, D, E, D, A. Now we're going to do solfege. Re, do, sol. Ready, go. Re, do, sol. Now we're going to observe that there's a little sort of ornamental note in there. Hear that? The F sharp. It just punctuates between each of those, in each of those transitions from D to E and vice versa. It just pops in. And then there's a passing B to get down to the A. So again, this is just a pentatonic collection. So here we have 3, 2, 1, 6, 5. You may wonder, why am I counting backwards? Well, I'm giving you the scale degrees. So third of the scale, second of the scale, root of the scale, and then down below to the 6 and the 5. So we have 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5. Play that with me real quick. So we're starting on an E. 1, 2, a high E. 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, you'll notice one of the rhythmic figures from the first half is showing up again, and that is a 3/8 notes worth on one note paired with 1/8 note of a different note. So for example, da-da-lee-da, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, da-da-lee-dee-do-do-do-dee-da-da-lee-dee-do. Because in the A section we had da-da-lee-dee-do-do-do-dee. Right at the beginning we had 3 B's with a D. And then we had A, F, 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 D, F, F, F. So that was 1 paired with 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's kind of a common rhythmic motif in this tune. That's sort of one of the motifs that binds the whole tune together, if you will. So in the B section, we have measures 1 and 2. Now let's look at 3 and 4. They're going to be very similar, but with a different ending. It kind of gets to the same place, but with a different root. You know what I'm saying? It still goes down to that B and the A, but it has a couple more twists in it. So that's going to be E, 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 F, D. We have a little leading tone C sharp. So na 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 na. A little more of a complicated ending there. B, B, A, A. We have on the downbeat we have the B, and then it resolves to the A on the offbeat. Dum bum bum bum. So listen to that whole phrase. In effect, it's really just an embellished version of measures 1 and 2. So measure 1 and 2 was, and these measures are. That's one of the really magical things about Irish music. It's just the most subtle variations that really make for. They just create this interest in the tune without, completely losing the engaged, without disengaging the listener. Because if you change too much, your listener is lost. Your listener is sort of bewildered. But if you use motific development, thematic development, with slight changes as you go through your melody, then you're going to draw the ear in, if you know what I mean. So that's what I think this does. just such a beautiful melody. So we've covered measures 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll just go over those one more time. So that's E, F, D, F, E, F, D, B, A, E, F, D, C sharp, D, E, F, E, D, B, B, A, A. Now we're on 5 and 6, which are going to be similar to 1 and 2, but they're going to take a different turn. So we have E, F, D, B, 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 G, B, B, B. So now we've sort of arrived on a very different chord. We're emphasizing the G note, which we haven't heard yet until now. This is the 4th of the scale. We're emphasizing this G note and we're pairing it with the B. G and B should remind you of a G chord, which is G, B, and D. And that is, of course, the 4 chord of the key of D. So D is the root. 1, 2, 3, 4. We arrive at G, and if we build a triad on G, we're going to have G, B, and D. So what's happening in the tune is we're getting our first official chord change. I mean, there are other chord changes that are implied, but this is our first big chord change. This is our first chord change that's out of the pentatonic scale. Why don't I put it that way? There are definitely other chord changes, but this is the first one where you really have to use a chord that's not part of that pentatonic collection, namely the 4 chord. So, again, this rhythmic motif of 1, 2, 3, 4, of one single note and then 3 of another. Let's practice that. That's D, B, 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 G, B, B, B. 1, 2, ready, go. So that's outlining a little G chord, right? So we'll put that with the phrase, the notes before it. So this is measure 5 and 6. And actually, we need to put the scale at the end, yeah. So then we have just a scale going up from D to A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So measures 5 and 6. And that high A is going to be the downbeat of measure 7. And so let's look at measure 7. Notice that ending is going to sound familiar. Going down to that A should sound familiar from some of the other phrases we've looked at. That's going to be little pairs: A, F, B, F, A, F, E, G, F, E, D, B, A. The end is quite simple. Just goes down the scale, skips the C sharp, of course. 4, 3, 2, 1, 6, 5. So that's from a G, G, F sharp, E, D, B, A. So you have the little pairs riff. Da, do, dee, do, da, do, do, dee, da, do, 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 do. A, F, B, F, A, F, E, G, F, E, D, B, A. Practice playing that with me. So we're on the high A. Da, no, na, no, na, no, no, na, no, no, no. The only part about that might trip you up is you have that E and G that kind of interrupts the flow there. So ba, boop, beep, boop, ba, boop, boop, beep, ba, boop, 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 boop. So you have a couple of pairs that are descending, da na 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 na, and then one that goes na na back up, na 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 na, before going down the slide, as you if you will. Again, just try to really let this melody sink in your head. And you've heard and played melodies like this in many other tunes. So let's try to put the whole B section together, and let's take a step back and sort of look at the B section from a bird's eye view and try to hear the sort of balance of the phrases. Okay, that might help. So we start on the high E. Da dee da dee da dee da 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 dee da do da da dee da 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 dee da do do dee do do da 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 dee da do dee da da da. That's the whole B section. So let's see what phrases did we have? We had the first phrase. The second phrase was a development of the first phrase. Third phrase is based on the first phrase but goes in a very different direction. And then the fourth phrase, as is common for Irish tune, especially B parts, that fourth phrase is going to be completely different. So it's a little bit similar to the A section, but you'll find with a lot of these tunes, the A section will have a certain form, almost like a poetic form, like A, B, A, C. And then the B section will have a related but different form because, again, you don't want too much similarity. You don't want to have the same type of pattern happening too many times in a row. So the B section has a little bit more variation than the A does. And so the B section ends up feeling more like a little adventure, like you're sort of going away from home. And then you arrive back on that wonderful A section. You may have noticed as I repeated the B section, I used a scale to link the final A back to the E. So, for example, at the end of the B section, that scale is just an A major scale. That's all it is. A, B, C sharp, D, E. So in context, da do dee da do do dee da 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 do do da 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 dee da dee da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da da. All right. So let's play the whole B section together, and then we will look at a variation, and then we'll call it a day. Starting on the high E, 1, 2, ready, go. Scale going up. Repeat. Now, at the end of the second repeat of the B section, we don't want to go back up to E. We're not doing that, are we? We want to have a figure that returns us to the B note, because the B note is the beginning of the A section, ironically enough. So we have we have 2 quarter note beats to do so. And we're going to go A, D, F, A. That's a D triad, just played in a broken chord form. And that'll land us back on the B. Ba, boo, boo, ba, bee. So here's that in context. To get back into the A section. Sorry. That wasn't very good. There we go. It's got a nice syncopation to it because you're hitting that low D, which is kind of a beefy note on the end of the beat. Right? and that creates a little syncopation as well. So again, that's A, E, F, A, D, A, E, F. In place of beep, boop, boop, boop. So instead of deep, we have kind of gives it a little, almost like an old time bounce, kind of a swingy, slightly American feel to it. So here's what it sounds like in context. So did you hear it in there? It kind of gives it a little jazzy feel to it instead of the. So that's one nice variation you can do on the A part. Now let's find a variation for the B part. So normally we're articulating all of the E's. We're sort of whether you're picking or fingering or bowing or whatever, we're sort of going to articulate all of those individual notes for the basic tune. But as a variation, it can be nice to do just some long tones, almost like emphasizing these chord changes. So you have don, be don, true dotted quarters with eighths instead of hearing all three eighth notes in that beat. Instead of you have bon, be don, ba don. That can be a really nice variation. All right, folks, so we've been through the whole tune Earl's Chair. We've sort of tried to get it in our ear a little bit, and we've talked about the notes, and we've sort of observed how the phrases interact with one another and the flow of the tune. Hopefully you've got the melody sort of percolating in your head at this point. I would encourage you to try to get it stuck in your head, because that's how the tune's going to stick with you if you really let it sink in. And so that being said, let's play the tune twice through together. We'll play it at a nice slow pace. And the second time we go through, we'll try to incorporate some of those variations. So, and if you don't hit them perfectly, that's totally fine. Of course, you can always rewind, pause, replay, or whatever. So remember the two variations we talked about. One of them's in the A section. It comes in measure 3. 1, 2. That one's kind of a bit of a tongue twister. A, E, F, A, D, A, E, F, A, F, da, ba, dee, wo, be, o, da, dee, da, do. And the other one was more simple in the B section. When we get to the downbeat of the B section, we're going to, instead of articulating the E's, we're going to go bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, just for those first two bits. And then we'll get back into it. All right, so twice through the tune. First time plain, second time with ornaments or variations. 1, 2, ready, go. Here comes the B section. Scale, repeating the B. Back to the beginning. Here comes the variation. again. Here we go. Here we go. Boom, beep, boom, beep, boom, beep, boom, boom, boom. We could end on B. That would be a nice way to end. Or maybe even a G chord. Or you could return to a D. So that's a really neat tune. It kind of flows very equally and gently between several different tonalities. The B minor, the D, a little hint of A, and a little hint of G. So it's a really versatile tune. It's a really catchy tune. And a great one for sessions. So I hope you enjoyed the Earl's Chair. As always, let me know what you thought about this tune and about this lesson in the comments, and let me know if you have any questions about the tune or any particular struggles or concerns with this tune, or if you just like it and just want to share something positive. Go ahead and do that too. All right. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.